All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond. We're going to be talking some fantasy football draft strategies so that you can dominate your leagues this year. We'll be right back.
The Fantasy Six Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bond and AJ Applegarth.
Touchdown! All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me over to on the screen, right? Corey Pieper. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. My Brewers are up 5-3 in the background. They are on a nice little winning streak here, so happy about that. And preseason football kicks off big tomorrow night, so we are in it all right now here.
I was gonna say, what's this baseball talk? Can I be like Bob Harris and yell at you for some baseball? You weren't around for that show. That show was hilarious. He was pissed off that we were talking baseball. He was kidding, but it's pretty funny. AJ over here looking like a cartoon character with multiple shirts and hats, and you got to put the little chain on, man. I don't know what the hell is going on.
You want it back on?
What happened, man? You look like you were. I don't even know. You didn't look real. It looked pretty odd at first. I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's because I need to adjust the links. But yeah, my my neighbor made the bananas chains. We went to the game last Saturday, and it was pretty awesome. First time I've seen them, so lots of fun. If you get a chance to win the lottery and go, I highly suggest you follow all the emails and buy the tickets immediately. Spent a butt ton of money on their merch and different stuff as well. So bring a heavy wallet with you and you should be good.
I mean, that's kind of a you problem. I don't know if it's an everybody problem. By the way, I've been to the ballpark with you, man, and like you went through the beer line and you had like 40 koozies at home, and literally you were like, "I'll take 2 of those, 2 more koozies." I looked at you and I'm like,
"There's one right here."
You think I'm kidding, Corey? This man has. I was like, "Why are you?"
I got koozies for days, baby. And by days,
like, I don't know.
Years.
They're there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
You look like Flavor Flav.
Put them back, AJ. Put them down, AJ.
I did actually buy a Savannah Bananas koozie. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, okay, fine, because you don't have one of those. That's fine. I guarantee you have 10 Oreos koozies at home. Yet you were going to buy 2 more because you were like, "Oh, I don't know where some of them are." I'm like,
I only have 2.
Eventually,
I have this one, and then I have a bigger one for like the master cylinder can, and then I have a couple of the like Natty Bow looking ones or whatever. But
all right, we've already gotten off track.
So
all right,
yeah,
so
the shirt. I just got to say, I was at the Phillies Orioles game today, and my wife had this shirt made for me along with the second one that's the opposite. Yeah, it gets compliments all the time. I couldn't lose today. Whichever team won, I was happy to see win. The Orioles did win,
like a cop-out to me.
Tyler Rogers got me 19 points, so I was pretty stoked about it.
All right, let's jump into things here. But before we do that, just want to remind everybody, hit that subscribe button, that like button, leave those comments. We love hearing from you. And become an all-access member over here at Fantasy Six Pack. We've got your award-winning rankings. We got your draft cheat sheets, which I have upgraded this year, by the way. I've thrown in my rankings into them, and I boosted the algorithm for quarterbacks and tight ends. I noticed as I was drafting with them this year that the mid, like after the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks, like they were all still way too high. And I was like, no, I gotta push people down. There's no way that they should be drafted right now. So I redid the formula for the quarterbacks, and it should be a little more accurate now to kind of how I would normally draft, which is why the sheet was built in the first place. It's kind of built off of how I would draft, and projections as well. So definitely get in there, and you got to join to become to get access to that. Use promo code F6P Pods and save 15%. All right, man. So tonight, draft strategies, and we just launched all 12, by the way. 11 to 12 went out today. Our draft strategy articles per pick from each pick in the, Corey, me, Michael Tomlin, and Kyle Senra all chopped them up, and we got them out. So they are fantastic. I read all of them because I edited all of them and published all of them. They're great stuff. So I highly recommend checking them out. They are on our fantasy football draft kit page there over on Fantasy Six Pack. So we are going to be jumping into some of that tonight. And Corey, you got the floor, man.
Yeah. So I came up with some questions here, just discussing draft strategies, pre-draft strategies. So these first few, we're going to talk about. You're going to your draft. You haven't done a ton of drafts, mock drafts, anything like that. We're going to talk about just a 12-team league for this question. AJ, you get your choice to pick your spot. Where are you choosing to pick? What is your preferred spot to pick in a 12-team league?
Well, in the staff league that we have, I went ahead and took the 1. But I don't always like to pick first overall. It just kind of depends. But this year, I really like the idea of getting either Chase or Bijan and just locking up, an absolute stud at either position. But typically, depending on how I want to build my depth, I'll usually kind of float a little bit back and still kind of sit at 5, 6, and usually don't take the back turn. Just depends, though. It depends on how the leagues are set as far as how we select the draft slot. But if it's just me choosing outright, I like to go, typically around 5, 6.
He likes the middle spots or the very early picks, it sounds like. Joe, do you have a preferred spot you like to choose from?
Yeah, I think this year I'm looking back. I probably ideally back 3 picks. I'll push it to 4. Kind of funny story. I did that in the Fantasy Six Pack League. We do a thing where, depending on how you finished last year, you get to you get to pick your draft slot the next year. And so Tomlin went ahead and took 10, which is the one I kind of wanted. I did the draft 10 draft strategy, and writing that article, I really liked it. After reading the 11 and the 12 and kind of looking at all the ADPs and the rankings between everybody, I kind of went, 10's a really good sweet spot. You still get 2 of your top talents there on the turn. And in the first round, I really like some of the players that are falling at 10. I just do. I think there's lots of ways you can go. It depends on how the front end of the draft starts for you. If people start going a little bit running back heavy, which is possible, I've seen it happen, you are going to get in a stud receiver. And then honestly, I would turn around and probably take another stud receiver and just start receiver at that point. And then, but if all the receivers go, you take one of the stud running backs there, and then you keep going from there. And just, there's so much flexibility with that 10 spot. I really like it. But 11 and 12 are kind of the same thing. 9 is right on the cusp of that. I feel like you might have to kind of overreach for a player here and there at the 9, just because, depending on how you kind of want to build your team. But long story, shorter answer here. Go back end of the first round. I don't need to have the Bijans, the Chase, the Saquons to win my league. I want to have more good players than one stud.
So Joe likes the back end. If I actually had to just single-handedly choose a spot, I would pick 5. I just think that is kind of the that's where I have 5 in a top tier, right? So you could make the case that Jamar Chase is a tier by himself, but then Bijan, Justin Jefferson, Saquon, and Jahmyr Gibbs, I can pretty much ensure I'm getting one of those if I pick 5. But if it wasn't 5, I'm in that league too now. I had the choice. I chose the back. I chose 11. It was either that or 12 for me. I was leaning towards the back end for a lot of the reasons that Joe was talking about. You can usually start off with some combination of Devon Achane and Nico Collins and Brian Thomas, and I pretty much love that anytime that I can get that. So I tend to favor the back too, because I do kind of like the depth of the draft or the player pool this year.
I think so. Can I build on that real quick? So the reason why I like the back more than the front isn't because, like, look, obviously you're getting an absolute monster of a player in the front. Like, you get Chase, you get Saquon, you get Bijan. Even if you take 4 or 5, right? It's Jefferson or Lamb or Gibbs, depending on your choice of player there. My problem is on that like 2-3 turn, especially if you had like the 1 or the 2. I don't love the players that are sitting there. You're kind of forced to be like, oh, do I want a McBride? That kind of thing. And it's like, I don't really want to build my team with a high end tight end this year. So, he's awesome, but I have done a bunch of mocks. I've done drafts. I've done all these strategy articles. And what I found out was that when you go early tight end like that, when you're at the early spots, that's kind of where it seemed like it kind of fell a lot more than the later spots. It really hurts the depth of the team. And so that's where like that back end of that second and that early third round, I don't love the players there to pair up with a Chase or a Bijan. That's why I definitely like the back end more too.
I like Trey McBride. I've said that a few times, so that's why I don't dislike.
I do like him.
I know.
I just don't want him on my team. Honestly, I just don't.
So
I don't like to build. I just don't want to build it that way.
Yeah.
In summary, Joe prefers the back end because he's afraid of the monsters in the front, and he doesn't want a high end tight end, even though he loves the back end. So everybody listening, take what you will from that, and that's why I like to just stay straight in the middle.
Oh my god!
Right in the straight and narrow.
I'm done. I'm done.
Everybody
else done for the night? Like, we had a 12-minute show. We done. How do you get better than that?
Oh boy,
that's what I bring. I don't know.
Why keep you around, AJ?
Speaking of bringing things here, question 2. We're moving on. Now, obviously, we have a few other things going on here because we do this stuff for the shows and for content and other things. But assuming that we didn't, you're just showing up to your drafts. You have not done all the prepping that we do. What are you bringing to your drafts, Joe, or at least loading up on your computer when you're ready to draft? We know about the cheat sheet, of course. It's one of the best things. That would be my answer. Is anything else you bring to your draft, sir?
Yeah, I mean, beer. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you took my answer. The draft cheat sheet. I mean, and look, that isn't me just plugging it. Like I built it before I put it on the site. Like I built it and was like, wait a minute, I should probably like put this on the site and figure out how to like make this help my site out. And it was a lot, it was a lot more simplified before I put it on the site, but it was something where it was like, it was great because it helped me like figure out like the best value in the draft. And like, it let me know where like big tier breaks were in positions. And so it's like, oh, if I miss on this guy, if I don't take this guy now, like the next tier of running back is not good if he comes back to me. But if I, wait on receiver, the next receiver coming back to me is pretty comparable. So it's not a big deal if I miss on like the next 2 or 3. That's what it's really good for. It's not telling you exactly who to draft. It's giving you information that the draft room doesn't give you. So that is obviously my number one. But I used to have like those and my rankings side by side. Now I put my rankings into it, so that helps me even more. What else am I bringing? I mean, not a whole lot. That's pretty much it, man. Like if there's just one thing I'm bringing, it's the cheat sheet. It's got everything I need in it. It's got my ranking. It's got the projections, the player values. It's got a deep player pool. It's all I need, man.
Yeah, before I started doing stuff with Fantasy Six Pack, I did not use the cheat sheet. I used my own tiers. Now I use my tiers plus the cheat sheet, so I will give you some credit there. It is a very useful tool. AJ, anything you bring different, specific, other than beer?
No, yeah, definitely plenty of beer. Maybe some snacks.
It's a bit of bananas,
Doritos.
chain.
Yeah, Yeah. I gotta bring my chain. I've got my Eagles one too.
His bling.
So, yes. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what covers it. I mean, at this point, the cheat sheet. Obviously, I'm partial to ours. It's phenomenal. Joe built a really nice platform to use for us. So if you haven't gotten a view of it or whatever, that's a perfect example for why you should join now and get the cheat sheet. But I like to, Corey, you touched on it too, like tiers. I definitely like to break out my guys in tiers even before looking at the cheat sheet, because that way I can kind of, that'll help break up my tier. If I'm, teetering between a couple of guys, and I just don't know which one to go, I'm going to look at the cheat sheet and see, how far apart they are, and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah. So AJ already started going into the next question a little bit, me too. But if it's one thing, I think we're all probably kind of in agreement here. Tiers, rankings, ADP. If there's one thing that you could use and you're going into your drafts and you say, okay, I need to know, I have a tiers list, just a straight rankings or the ADP, and you just wanted to draft off that for the people who are showing up, used to be just with a magazine. What's the way to go here? AJ, you're going with tiers, I assume?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the tiers. But to be fair, I build my tiers off of consensus rankings that I look at on different pages, Fantasy Six Pack, Fantasy Pros, and then wherever some of my leagues are, I'll check those too. But typically for me, I'm mostly going off of my tiers.
Joe, other than the cheat sheet, if you didn't have access to the cheat sheet, tiers, rankings, ADP?
Yeah, I think it's tiers, because tiers also build in a little bit of rankings, and ADP is built into the draft room a little bit, so you don't really have to bring that with you. You don't have to study it. Just be careful with ADP. ADP is just a reference guide, just to let you know. Like, somebody somewhere is probably going to reach ahead of ADP, and ADP is also a average over a very long span of time for some sites. And so, players who should be climbing up the board for the last week or two because of an injury or something may not look like they have on ADP. So be careful with that.
Look at somebody like Jonnu Smith, who we talked about how he's still getting boosted from that stuff time with Miami, even though now he's been traded to Pittsburgh. Some of the players we talked about with injuries, how they have not caught up. Talk about Jordan Addison's suspension. All of that's going to affect ADP, but like you said, they've already had the drafts happen. So, still, even with the cheat sheet available, I don't handwrite them. I know some people are insane and handwrite them. I still keep a tiers spreadsheet on my computer with color coding and things like that. And I just go through and I make a copy and I delete them off as players get picked. And it just helps me visualize where I see drops in value. And I don't want to worry too much about being left behind. I'm perfectly fine taking someone in that same range, but I don't want to make sure that I get, left out to dry on something. So that's the way I still do it, along with Joe's sheet.
The last thing I'll say, if you are, more partial to doing ADP, I would suggest, looking at ADP, building up to your drafts, because it's going to change, especially now that we're in August and the majority of casual players and different leagues are drafting this month. You got to just see what it does, because it could sway a lot more from where it may have been sitting in June, July, where there's not a ton of drafts happening. So that's something I would recommend if you're dead set on using ADP.
100%.
Yeah, I agree completely. We're going to move now to some general strategy questions. The draft is here. You are moving into the draft itself. So we're just going to go off for these questions. The classic: 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, 2 or 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Classic snake draft. And just basically, what is general strategy when it comes to drafting and constructing a final roster? Not, do you want to go, are you more likely to favor upside? Are you more likely to shoot for floor? Do you want the safe players? Does injuries concern you? Just some general discussion on when it comes to the actual draft room, and you see someone falling because they're risky or they're injury prone, does it affect you? Does it not affect you? Joe, where do we feel on how you're going to build your roster most of the time?
Yeah, so there's a lot to this one. So I typically early on, I try to go a little safer. I want guys I know I can rely on. I want a good base to my team. And then, come round round 7, 8, 9, I might take a couple chances here and there. And go for some upside guys. If I've built enough depth up ahead in front of them, like if I need to rely on them, maybe I'm gonna wait a little bit. Like if I went 0 RB for instance, right? I might not shoot for like Cam Scatterbo as my RB1. Like I might have to go with somebody a little more reliable as my RB1. And then if Cam Scatterbo was like still there, maybe fine. Maybe I'll take, and just random name that isn't like for sure a guy I would go after, but just thinking of somebody going around that range. That's kind of how I deal with like risk and upside and like kind of how I want to build my team. And I know like, approaches as far as like building your team out as far as like, do I draft a running back in round 1, receiver in round 2, that kind of thing. Like, I never go into a draft thinking that. I have a preference on how I would like to build a team, but if it doesn't fall to me that way, I'm not going to force it, because then you lose value. And I'm a big value-based drafter. The cheat sheet is built that way. It tells you who the best value player is. And so I'm all about going after value, and that's essentially how I draft. It's value-based drafting.
I think that's a good strategy for everyone to use. I mean, if you're just getting into it, is value-based drafting. The idea is you're avoiding the reaches and you're taking all the deals that are there in front of you. So, I mean, if you're going to go into a draft with that, the chances are you're going to come out pretty good. AJ, just general strategy talk. What are you looking to do when you get to your actual fantasy football drafts?
Yeah, again, if I'm going with my middle of the pack draft slot, really just going to follow what those first few picks are, and then I'll make my first pick, whether it's a receiver or running back, and what the value is at that spot. But then I'm just going to keep tracking those first turn spots to see who's building what depth, and see what I'm going to have left to try to take. And then hopefully not have to reach too far on anybody. But I'm not not opposed to it if it's one of my guys, and I think the value is slightly lower than some of the other people on the board. I may just go with that pick.
I am gonna piggyback on something that AJ said, like the my guys idea. There are people that I am willing to push up a little bit to make sure that I get them. I will push up a guy like, as I said, I like Ted McMillan a lot. I will push him up a little bit, but that doesn't mean that I can't go out of my way to say, if there's someone I don't like, I'm fine just completely ignoring him. Even if the value sits there, I am not going to eat Chris Olave. And if he goes out and has 1,200 yards, that's fine. I'm fine with 1,200 yards. I hope he has a great season.
Die on that hill.
But I will not have him on a team, right? So just because the value isn't there, if you truly dislike someone, like, you don't have to take him, even if it seems like it should be the pick. I hope he's successful. I will not take Chris Olave. I hope that who's someone else that I'm unlikely to get this year. I'm unlikely to have Aaron Jones in any draft this year. I just think that Jordan Mason's a much better deal. So something like that, where I think it's just a matter of you have to know like who you like and who you don't like. And even if it seems like the value is there, stick to your convictions. Like, I'd rather be wrong about that than take somebody I don't like and eat it all year. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah, I'm all about going to get you guys. I have also, I'm not going to reach 2 rounds to go get a guy, but if it's 6, 7, 8 picks, maybe, that's probably about the limit of where I'll go, because at that point, like, you start losing value on that guy. I mean, I always say this about rankings. I tell people about the rankings. I'm like, look, you can like a guy. If everybody else has him ranked around like RB 15, you can love him and think he's going to be an RB 1. You don't have to go rank him RB 8, 5, whatever it is. Rank him RB 10, 11. You're still going to be way ahead of consensus. You're still going to go get your guy. You don't need to go overboard. Like, unless you know some inside secret, like, again, that's the thing. Like, you just don't have to overreach for players. But I agree with you, man, on like the red flag people. Like, I'm out on a lot of players, and I know even the cheat sheet's gonna be like, oh, take him here because it is projections based. Yeah, a lot of these, like, I want nothing to do with him. I just can't do it.
Just piggybacking on that question there, where do we stand on like taking pre-injured players or suspended players? Because I said we're going to talk about Jordan Addison and his now is it 3 games I believe he officially got for a suspension, and we think Diggs will be injured to start the season perhaps, and some of those type of things. Are you guys good taking them or just completely avoid?
I'm only going to take a pre-injured player if I have IR slots. IL slots or IR? Is it IR for football?
I think it's IR for football, IL.
Yeah. I'm in both right now. Sorry, guys. But yeah, only if I have some injured reserve slots for football am I going to take a pre-injured player. Although, you know what? I mean, like, come on, week 1, we're going to get 3 more players. So it's really hard to draft. And we say this is baseball. Like, I typically avoid those guys. And I talked about this on one of the training camp check-in shows. We were talking about Godwin. It hasn't been released yet, but talking about Godwin, and like, even if he can come back, right, he's going to be, playing week 1. He will have probably had 0 training camp, almost no ramp up period. If he did, it's very little. And we've seen it a lot with guys like that don't get that true training camp, ramp up period, adjustment time. They either aren't good early on, whether it's contract based and they're holding out CeeDee Lamb type of thing last year. He was bad early on, right? Mm-hmm. Or if they're, out for an injury, either way, like, they come back, there's nothing. They more often than not, they either start off slow or they get injured or both. And so it's just kind of like, do you want to deal with that headache? And I'm kind of like, no, I don't. I just don't want anything to do with those guys. So I really push those guys down the board. Now, if a Chris Godwin fell to like round 15, fine. I'm probably going to pull the trigger on that one. But he's not going to go that far. That's the problem.
Yeah. There's always going to be someone ahead of you that is willing to take that risk more than you. Even if you are that guy who likes going after the risky players, trust me, you're not going to get all of them, nor should you get all of them, unless you're already planning for the playoffs, that early based on possible future returns. But I'm in the same boat there with suspended players. They're going to fall a couple of rounds at least for me. It just depends on how long the suspension is and who it is. If it's an absolute monster player that I really like, I might only wait 1 round. But yeah, usually I'm letting those people go and finding someone else that I like. Just as much.
Yeah, that's why I probably will not have a ton of Rashee Rice, because I wasn't all that in on him, and I think he's going to be suspended for a while. So someone usually likes him more than I do. Moving on here, we're just going to transition a little bit to talk running back here. And on the site, on those draft slot strategy articles that Joe referenced earlier, I know I wrote a couple of these. I saw all of them were in there when I wrote this question down, but if you had to pick a preferred way to approach running back, is it 0 running back, meaning you're just passing, taking receivers first, loading up, and then taking a bunch of running backs in the middle? Is it hero, meaning you get 1 and then take wide receivers and going from there? Is it heavy RB and just getting 2, 3 in the first 5 rounds? Or is it just you're just never going to lean into one running back, you're going to take the balanced approach and go from there? AJ, where are you thinking on running backs? What's the strategy?
I mean, I always like to have a decent amount of depth at running back because, at least in years past, aside from the quarterback injuries that we see every year, running backs seem to be the next, wave of injuries. So you got to have enough depth. But for years, that's what I wanted to do, and I just never did it until more recently. The past few years, I've just focused more on going RB heavy and and still trying to balance it out with the receivers. But if it comes down to a split between tiers and where my guys are, I'm probably going to lean running back over wide receiver. And again, it also depends on the scoring. If it's full PPR, then I might be more of a balance. But typically, I'm not a zero guy, and I'm not really a hero guy. I may be this year if I get Bijan in those one slots or whatever, but I still even with hero, I like having like 3 hero guys. So.
So
that's
no,
RB heavy.
Still RB heavy.
Oh man, that's a good.
They trade off week to week. Who's the hero?
Do you like Bud heavy too? Jesus.
Back in the day, maybe.
Oh my gosh! Of course you did.
I mean, why not?
Joe, zero, hero, balanced, or heavy?
So I used to be more of a balanced guy. I wanted to, and it has shifted from running back heavy. I mean, I've been playing since 2001. AJ, I think you've been playing before me.
Yeah.
But I've been playing since 2001 when running backs were like it. You didn't have 2 or 3 awesome running backs, you lost. So I used to be heavy running back. Then I was more balanced. Now I have really leaned into the hero running back. The biggest reason why is you still, in my opinion, like those elite running backs up top still make a massive difference. They still score a ton of touchdowns. You have to get at least one of them, or at least try. It's not always going to work, but you got to try. But the game has changed. It's a very pass-heavy league. So receivers are dominating. And that's why I'll typically go with like a running back in the first or second round and then just like fill it up with receivers the rest of the way. And then maybe like 5th, 6th round, I'll grab a running back again. And if you have read any of my draft strategy articles, you will know that I have done this strategy in every single one of them, except for one. I said, you know what, fine, I'll stop doing it. But I think you get the idea. But I mean, it is just a favorite strategy of mine, and it really works for most draft slots, in my opinion. So I think that is a very easy way to go in a lot of leagues that you're in. But obviously, again, we've talked about like how we got to draft our teams. It's if your league just goes running back crazy, then nope, I'm out. I'm just going to take all the receiver value, and then when they stop drafting running backs, because they will, that's when I'm going to start picking them up. And a guy like DeAndre Swift, I've talked about a million times on the show, and I mentioned him in pretty much every article I wrote. Is a favorite target of mine in that 5th, 6th round. He has climbed up the board, by the way, I realized pretty quickly. So you may not be able to get him that late very soon. I may have to just jump in a bunch of best balls here soon because I think I'm going to lose the value on him. But him and Kenneth Walker is another guy rising up the board, but he was a huge value back in, just a couple weeks ago. Those types of guys will be there later. And so that's why I like going one stud running back, one of those like top 7 or 8, and then you wait and get and then you load it up a little bit. You get 1, 2, or 3 of those like next 2 or 3 tier guys. Just hope one hits, and that's all you need because you've just loaded your team up with receivers at that point.
Yeah, hero is a strategy I will employ. I will rarely, if ever, go 0 unless it's something like he was talking about where everyone's going running back and I can start my draft with, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb or something like that. Something unbelievable happens. But I will rarely go 0 running backs at this point. I think typically the way I do it is I go balanced. I would like to have at least 2 running backs in the first 5 rounds. And as far as can I have 3, maybe, but I would probably in most leagues. Most of my leagues are still full PPR. I do play, it's either half or full. Most of mine are full, so I usually have 3 receivers there. And then I will say this: whenever it comes to building a bench, I will always have more running backs and receivers on my bench because the one injury and they can carry more value. So if you have 6 bench slots, I'm typically going like minimum of 3 running backs, and it depends if I'm carrying like a backup quarterback, depending on who my quarterback is. But if most leagues, we'll talk about benches a little bit. Most leagues, I just have running backs and receivers, and I will always have more running backs because they're more likely to get injured, and there's more one-to-one replacement value. I just wrote a new article for this site that'll be up, I don't know when, sometime, about handcuffing. I'm not saying necessarily handcuffs, but the idea that...
Man, I promise.
What?
It's in the queue, I promise.
Oh, yeah. No rush. But something about handcuffing and just the idea that when you're doing a handcuff, right, you want a one-to-one replacement. And running backs, you can get that. You cannot do it with receivers. Oh my God.
I saw the smirk on his face. I was like, no.
I didn't say a thing.
You showed it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Moving on to just a balancing act. Joe sort of hit on it a little bit. We were talking about general strategy, and that is, how do we balance the idea of high upside, low floor players? So someone who can win you your league versus the guys who just show up and perform when you need them. Do you want a certain mix early? I think Joe said he kind of wanted to mix more steady guys early and late guys of upside, or is it just full bench, all upside, no floor? How do you go about doing it, Joe?
Yeah, I think you kind of summed up my strategy pretty much. I already said it. Yeah, it's a little bit safer early. Like, it's not completely safe early. I will mix it around, but it's not like I'm not going to go crazy, right? Early on, it will be safer. Middle rounds to late rounds, middle rounds, I'll say I'll probably lean more safe, but I'll mix in more risk. Later rounds, I'll adjust 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Like I'll go back and forth. Like it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I know I need a couple of safe guys. I can't go like all the risky players because I have to have a bench that at least helps me. I can rely on. But I want to take a shot on some of these like rookies, these second-year guys, these guys moving to new teams, guys that have, possibly opened up spots on their, have had spots open up on their depth chart because of players that have moved that, they're a little unproven. But those are the guys that the later rounds are the guys that are literally going to win you your leagues. The guys early on, of course, are going to be studs. But your late round picks, your mid to late round picks are the ones that will win you your leagues. If you don't hit on a few of those and they can climb up the boards and be those early round picks next year, you're not winning your league.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially the the part about bros in different area codes, as we coined it. Looking at some of those guys, you really have to just look at their situation. Were they in a better situation and then they left? And now they have a quarterback dumpster fire, or is it something, where they're in a better spot and then it's not as risky as it might seem just because they're on a new team. You may be looking at a few weeks early on where, they have some, lower point output because of learning the playbook. But, once they get going, if it's a solid enough player, I don't worry about that. It's a few weeks. And then if it turns into more than that, then I'm probably cutting bait. But I definitely like looking at, at these rookies too, and trying to gauge which ones, are going to break out, or, ones that are just going to help your team, specifically during bye weeks and that sort of thing. I'm working through the bye week strategy article for Fantasy Six Pack, so that should be out at some point early next week. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to talk about some of this stuff too.
So when it comes to, I agree with Joe on the balancing. I want steadier players early, and I want to take my risk late if possible for the blow up upside players. But AJ also mentioned rookies. And I know when we talked about values, we threw how all the rookies are somewhat overvalued, but that's at the later half. I think there's some early rookies who I really like the values on. I like the value on Ted McMillan in the middle. I like the value on Omarion Hampton. The players that I think actually have a clear defined role. I think a lot of times we just see rookie at the end of drafts and it's, oh, well, this guy's got to have more upside. Not necessarily. Like, there are veterans at the end of drafts who have a lot of upside too. And just because they've done it a few times doesn't mean that things can't change. So at the end of drafts, when you see the hot new name and it's, Bashal Tootin, well, I know that Travis Etienne can run for 1,200 yards at the end of a draft. And just because Bashal Tootin's new doesn't mean that he has any more upside than Travis Etienne does or something like that. But so I do think that rookies in the mid round sometimes can be decent values, but at the end, those are the ones I just almost never take, because it feels like that's always just shooting for something that you think might happen. And for every time you hit a Tyrone Tracy, there's 100 failed rookies that don't hit for those. That's my feeling with them.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been talking
baseball, man. Like, same thing, but yeah.
Oh, I know. We're talking running backs. We've been talking receivers mostly. Let's flip it to the onesie positions: quarterback, tight end. AJ. Do you have a general strategy for quarterback, tight end, either, both of them? What you doing?
Not necessarily like a dead set strategy on these. If I'm, in a one QB, one tight end league, I do like to probably reach a little bit more than some people on trying to lock up a solid quarterback, and then even getting, a very serviceable backup, not just as a bye week fill-in guy, but I like looking at the matchups and seeing, which quarterbacks kind of complement each other. By this week, the one quarterback has, a really tough matchup, and this week the other guy doesn't. That's kind of what I look for as my backup. And tight ends, it's just kind of, if I miss on, one of the top 5 guys, maybe, I'm just holding out and seeing what falls. But I probably won't be touching tight end anytime early in that scenario. I'd rather go after, a better bench quarterback that I know can help me. And like I said, I just mentioned it earlier, quarterbacks, every year we see it, certain guys go down, everybody gets injured. And you're in a bad spot if you don't have a solid second option, or if you're going to tempt fate and try to grab somebody off the waivers in hopes that they'll carry your team for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on how injured your main guy is.
Joe, onesie position strategy.
So AJ, I want to say, do you play best ball, by the way? Because if you have not dived into best ball, you're talking about replacement value of players on bye weeks, dude.
Yeah,
that is best ball to a T. You are you need to do this, but I'll answer the question.
I have. It's
you
been
dude.
a while.
You've got to jump back in. If that is something that you pay heavy attention to, that is absolutely something you should be doing right now. Way more of, I guarantee it. Anyway, I'll answer the question. My strategy is, Corey, you and I think agree on this 100%. If I don't get one of the top 3 or 4 of each position, I'm out. And I'm not going to reach for either one of them. Like, I actually don't want them at their value. If they drop, sure. But they're not dropping. Like, none of these guys are falling. So at that point, I'm out, and I'm getting a quarterback. I am totally fine drafting a quarterback in the range of the 12 to 17 range. Like, I'll take 2 of those guys and be totally fine. I will figure it out. I guarantee there are guys going in that range who will be a top 6 quarterback next year. It's just going to happen.
Yep.
As far as tight ends, I am more. So I was answering the question for both, but tight ends are slightly different. I will put a little more emphasis on the tight end position than I do the quarterback position, because I do, even though there are some tight ends later. AJ, you're laughing again. There are some of that position. I'm going to say position because you're a child.
I'm just trying to learn which tight end you want to reach for.
That's
all I'm after.
Even though there are some players, Corey is dying over there, by the way. If you're not watching, Corey is dying, almost falling out of his chair. I'm done. Okay. There are players at that position who later on I like, but I don't feel as confident with the later tight ends as I do as the later quarterbacks. So if I were to have the draft fall in a way where like a tight end fell and it was enough of value to me where I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to do this now. And there were other players on the board that I didn't really care for, then I will take the tight end, and then I will definitely wait on the quarterback. I will very rarely take the early quarterback this year.
Yeah, Joe's right. We're very similar in our approach to the onesie positions. I will take anytime after about pick 31, I will take Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Jaden Daniels at the back of the 3rd round if they're there. I will take Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts. I actually got Joe Burrow in the 5th round in one. I will take Joe Burrow in the later of the 4th round. I did get Joe Burrow in the 5th round in one. That was probably my best value. Otherwise, I don't know if I've ever actually gotten any of them. I would take them there, but they're never there. Like Joe said, people take them earlier than I do, so I never get any of them. And then I just wait and I live in the like CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, JJ McCarthy range. And I usually try to get 2 of them, depending on the depth of my bench. I play in a lot of 7 bench leagues, so I try to get 2 of them. Just because I want to try to give myself double chance to not have to stream the position all year. It used to be easier to stream, but now most teams seem to hold 2, so it's gotten harder to stream. So I usually draft 2 of them right away. That's just the way I've been going about it. At tight end, I will take Brock Bowers after pick 20 if he's there. He rarely is, so I don't think I have any Brock Bowers other than a dynasty league. I will take Trey McBride anywhere in the 3rd round. I love that value. George Kittle, I will get in the 4th round if he's there. Laporta, I get in the 5th round sometimes, and then it's Evan Ingram in the 7th or Tucker Kraft in the 9th. And if it's not that, I just literally wait before I take a defense and a kicker, and I take Brenton Strange, or I take Chig Okonkwo, or I take both of them. And that's kind of that's literally my tight end strategy. I will not touch any of the other tight ends I didn't mention. I don't think
you're completely out on like Andrews if he falls.
I will not touch. I would take Travis. I mean, if they fell to like the 10th round, I would take them in that range. But,
yeah.
I would take Travis Kelce in a PPR league, I guess. But other than that, those are really the only tight ends that interest me. And
I don't even know if I could do Kelce in a PPR league this year, man. I think there's too many receivers there, like that will compete.
Yeah, I trust those. What did I say? 7 tight ends. I trust Tucker Kraft and Evan Ingram at their value. I want one of them if the value's right. If it's not and people reach for them, that's fine. I'll just stream that. I find that position is going to be easier to stream this year than the quarterbacks. So I want a quarterback, and I'll stream tight end before I want to stream quarterback, which is already some popular opinion, but I'll eat that one.
No, there's already some guys that have been mentioned, and I've only done 8 of them. They've all not been dropped yet, but 8 training camp check-ins, there have been a ton of tight end drops from names here that these guys have mentioned, and it's very interesting. And there's a couple of guys who, like, you didn't mention, like, that are going kind of early that, like, I might have to, like, reevaluate and be like, well, maybe, like, and I get it. These guys are all like, beat writers and reporters that are trying to boost their teams. I get it. They're fans of the team too, but these guys know, they see it, so there is something to that too. So tight ends might, I'm not going to, like, reevaluate my draft strategy based off of that, but, like, I'm going to reshift some people around, I think, in my ranking based off of what some people say.
Yeah, makes sense. We had to adjust on the fly here. When it comes, I've sort of just talked about this one a little bit here. When it comes to building your bench, is it pretty much all running backs and receivers, or will you get a second quarterback and tight end? I just sort of covered it. I want a second quarterback because unless I get one of the top 5, I want a second quarterback. I almost never back up a tight end unless that's a deep enough bench, but I want more running backs and receivers. That's kind of my strategy. Joe, or what are your thoughts on bench building?
Yeah, it's all running backs and receivers. You are right though. Like, so many of my leagues now will double dip on quarterback. You are almost forced to at this point, even industry leagues at this point. Mm-hmm. So I know, like, it's so hilarious because I laugh every time I hear it. I'm listening to Sirius XM and all the big dogs, right? Like, we know it. We know all their names. I'm not going to call anybody out, but we say it too. Like, don't draft a second quarterback. Yeah, we all do it. They do it too. I am in leagues with these guys. They all do it. So the right answer is don't draft a second quarterback. It really is, because it doesn't matter. You're going to drop him at some point, right? Unless, right, my only thing would be, like, is if your quarterback, say, I think Jalen Hurts last year had a week 5 bye. I don't know why I remember that. I drafted him somewhere, and I want to say I remember this. He had a week 5 bye. If you drafted Jalen Hurts with a week 5 bye, it's the first bye week of the year, fine. Take a good quarterback. I think I drafted, like, I don't remember who I drafted the league I had him in. It was somebody random. I think I ended up dropping. Jordan Love. He was, like, super ass late last year or whatever. I don't remember now. But anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, if you have a week 5 bye quarterback, week 6 quarterback, fine. Take your second quarterback. I honestly still would just wait, but I get it, man. Like, you're in the draft room, 40 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute to pick. You get panicky. It happens. That's the only thing is, like, and then you think, like, oh, the well is dry, so you've got to do it. So I kind of would still draft a second quarterback regardless of that, just because, like, you've got to take a chance on somebody and hope that they can be a reliable second quarterback for you. And if your guy gets hurt, then cool. You've got a good plug and play there. But yeah, that's the only difference, really. Like, definitely no second tight end. Definitely no second defenses or kickers, despite AJ's answer here in a minute. I know it's coming.
AJ, bench depth. How you doing it? Running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends?
None of the above. All defense.
Oh, man, come on.
7 defensive spots.
Just kidding.
Bounce it off.
Just kidding. But yes, as it is probably well known throughout the circles that I am a big proponent of drafting a second defense, and at least having one bench spot for that. Now, it depends on how big the bench is. If I have, like, a 5-man bench, I'm probably not doing that strategy. And even there, I'd still take a backup quarterback, but then the other 4 spots are probably receivers and running backs. I'm not even going to waste time on a tight end. But if I have more depth on the bench, yeah, I'm all for drafting a second defense. And again, it goes back to the complementary aspect of it that I talked about earlier. With the quarterbacks, with the defense, when they're playing bad teams and when they're not. And I think it was might have been last year. It was like Cincinnati and the Jets, or Cincinnati and the Patriots. Like, they just flip-flop for the first 5 weeks or so, and then it turned out that Cincy sucked, so that didn't help me. But looking at that sort of a strategy, for me, I like it. I mean, it's not everybody's thing. I get that, but yeah, I'm not benching a second kicker. I'm not, I would rather stream kickers than waste a bench spot on an extra kicker. Again, unless even if there's that early buy, like you're not doing that for kickers. No. So you really just want to build, solid depth at your skill positions, because they're the ones that you need to plug and play the most. Your running backs, if you're a 2 running back league and 3 wide receivers, your bench should look pretty much the same. Because you're going to have those guys, moving in and out once the bye weeks start, and you got to be able to plug someone else in there.
Yeah, I said it. I will roster a backup quarterback, like Joe said. I know it's not the best use of resources, but when you play in these leagues with 12 teams and everybody else has 2, suddenly the streaming option is not what it's supposed to be. So that's just the way you almost have to do it. And otherwise, always more running backs and receivers, and very rarely, if ever, a backup tight end, unless something didn't work out.
I almost wonder if we started drafting 2 quarterbacks just to stop the streaming.
Feels like it.
It does. Because I'm telling you,
so.
The strategy everybody throws out there in every article, every radio show, podcast I've listened to from all the industry guys is you don't need to draft a second quarterback, but we all do it because what happens is you just get to stroll through and just play matchups like I do with defenses all the time, and I still do it despite AJ taking 2 because you're the only one who takes 2. You don't stop me from doing anything. You're the lone soldier over there. Have fun.
Yeah, I will. But I mean, in my home league, I've got a buddy that I don't know. We bust his balls every year because he'll just go quarterback, tight end. Like one year, I think he had 4 tight ends and at least 3 quarterbacks. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why is this a thing for you? This is not a strategy. This is I'm going to tank my team because I don't care sort of a deal. But he does care. He's always in it and he's always competitive. It's just it's the ultimate, I'm going to stop streaming of all the positions except for the skills. This is what I'm doing. So, I mean, and ultimately he's had some success trading some of these guys, but usually they just still sit on his roster. It's like, okay, whatever. I think he drafted Hurts and Mahomes one year. It might have been last year.
I know people that do that too, where they draft with the intention of trading. Maybe I'm just not good enough.
That's the worst.
Maybe I'm just not a good enough trader. I'm just never doing that in my life. I will draft my team, and if someone comes to me or I have a need, then I'll trade you. But
the problem is with doing that is you will never get the value you want in return. Is because what are you're going to trade him for the guy that probably should have gone drafted? That you should have drafted instead. That's never going to happen. So you're going to trade him for a lesser player, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Never draft a trade.
AJ, of course, you get the first answer on this last question. There is by choice because Joe has been giving it to you the whole time here. AJ, what is the strategy when it comes to drafting DSTs?
All of them. Again,
Just get everyone, all 32 of them.
Take them all. Yeah, no quarterbacks. No. You have one starting spot, and it's your defense, and then you have empty roster slots everywhere for starters, and everything is a defense on your bench. No, it's obviously not that extreme, but it's probably close. I've already said it, multiple times this episode. We just got done talking about it. I will always, for the most part, draft a second defense solely for matchups, and also because I am one of those people who just assumes I'm making the playoffs every year. So I want to look ahead and try to figure out who's got the best matchups in the playoffs. Who's that week 16 week 17 now. I'm also getting the bye every year too. Those teams who have the best, matchups, those are guys you want to look at. And I'm not necessarily drafting them right off the bat, but if it's a defense that I think somebody else would draft, then I might think a little harder about it. I'm not necessarily reaching for defenses, but there's always someone in my leagues that starts the run. So I try to have one of the projected better defenses. But last year I was all over the Eagles defense with Fangio getting there, and I dropped them after the first 4 weeks because they were hot garbage. And then I couldn't get them back when they started dominating the entire league. So, you win some, you lose some, but that's all it is for me. I look at the matchups all the time, and I figure out which ones I think are going to project for the best overall number of weeks, and then I'll draft them, and then I'll take the next one right there.
Joe, do you have a defense strategy?
I'm drafting whoever has the best matchup in week 1. And
I have another. So I can tell you that I've done enough of these that I know who I want.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So there's basically 3 teams that I'd try to get in all of these drafts that I've done so far. The Broncos have a great defense anyway. They start off with the Titans and then they get the Colts. That's the one that I really want. Titans followed by the Colts, so I don't have to worry about it for the first 2 weeks. Then it's I think it's Chargers, Bengals, Eagles. So I'll drop them. They'll probably be the top scoring defense. I will drop them after that because I'm not going to story. I won't roster 2 defenses, and I'm not going to play them in those matchups. The Broncos are my first one. The Cardinals start off with the Saints and the Panthers. I like that one. And the Dolphins have the Colts and the Patriots. I want 2 weeks if I can do it. That's my goal. 2 weeks. So Broncos first, then Cardinals.
Still so tough, man, because you just don't know what teams are going to look like at this point. And you say you want Miami, but man, we all like the Patriots to kind of bounce back this year. You really loving that one? I don't know if I am. That's the thing. I still if I'm drafting a defense early on for multiple weeks, I want one that I know has a great pass rush. I don't care about the secondary. Secondary. You want one that just isn't just Swiss cheese like the Commanders were, for multiple years now. And, there's a couple other ones. But you definitely want one that you can rely on that has a front 7 that can just get pressure, get sacks. Sacks and turnovers. Those are the 2 big ones, man. And allowing points, I don't know, man. Everybody allows a ton of points, so it is what it is.
Pass rush over all the pass rush over points, absolutely. If you can find a team that you rely on the pass rush, you go with that.
Yeah, and guys playing rookie quarterbacks, like you mentioned, the Titans. That's a good one. Yeah, Cam Ward on his first game ever. Yeah. He's probably getting sacked 5 times unless he's just an idiot. And if he does that, he's probably throwing the ball up in the air and he's going to get intercepted 3 times. So you're still good.
Yeah. Some of those sacks are probably going to be strip sacks. So
there you go.
Solid.
And we move into our last section here where we just talk about quick answers about some of the different league formats here that people are starting to play more and more of. First one, tight end premium leagues. Joe, is there a strategy? Are you willing to pay the premium price for tight ends, or are you just going to keep treating it like a normal league?
Mostly treating it like a normal league, but there's a few guys that I boost up, like the Bowers and the McBrides, the ones that are basically the wide receiver 2s on those teams. Those are the ones you have to boost up. The other ones are still going to have pretty much the same value. They just don't get enough to matter. Maybe they move up 5 or 6 spots total, but the McBrides, the Bowers, kind of Kittle's not a huge volume guy, but he's just good. So he doesn't actually move too much. But the guys that you know are going to be huge volume getters in their offense, those are the ones you move up.
That's why
Other
I
than
like
that,
Evan
no.
Ingram. That's why I like Evan Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram and Strange even. I think he's going to be a huge volume guy. Like he gets boosted up, but those are the only guys that really get a boost. Other than that, they're all kind of the same.
AJ, anything else to add to tight end premiums?
Yeah. First off, great job on hitting the 30-second rule there. The only thing that I'm
Corey talks again. Sorry.
Anyway.
Well, blame me. Thanks.
I was close. In 30 seconds.
I was close.
Yes. The main reason I would be bumping them up in a tight end premium is because I know that there's going to be a handful of people in the league that are bumping them way higher than me. So I just don't want to lose them out. So
that's true. I just don't like to chase, but
yeah. Joe talks about his value-based drafting. I feel like in tight end premium leagues, people just push the value so high on them that you almost, I don't want to chase it, but like AJ said, it's almost where you have to chase it.
Yeah.
Superflex leagues. Superflex leagues. How do we attack the quarterback position in a Superflex league? Obviously, that's where they gain more value because you can just start two of them. AJ.
Well, in that case, I'm definitely drafting two with my first two picks and then the rest defenses. No, I will typically try to get one usually within the first 3 rounds. If I don't take one right away, and some start falling, then I'm good. But most of the time that doesn't happen. So if I'm at the back of the first round, I'm taking one with one of those first 2 picks for sure. And then I like to try to get my second one maybe by round 5 or 6, depending on how many start flying off the board. You just have to be able to adjust and follow what's going on with the draft board.
Yeah, I've been in leagues where quarterbacks are like, you have to get your first 2 in the first 3 rounds or you're toast. I've been in leagues where you can wait till round 5 or 6, like AJ said, and get your second one. Either way, you still have to get your first one most likely in the first 2 rounds. Otherwise, you're kind of in trouble. If you're in the early part of the first round, that's when you're getting your first quarterback. If you're in the back end of the first round, you can wait till round 2. And then you can kind of see how people are drafting and kind of go from there. But it's definitely, quarterback premium at that point. You've got to go get them.
My advice to Superflex players is get a third quarterback for your bench. They are unbelievably valuable. And if somebody gets injured, that's a starting quarterback for you. Otherwise, you're dropping every dollar of fab you have to try to find Jay Kaner or someone completely awful. So in the first 10 rounds, you should have 3 quarterbacks. I don't care how early you take your first 2. You need to have 3 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds because otherwise it is terrible when you have an injury to your starting quarterback.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I'm easily drafting 3 in Superflex, sometimes 4, but usually if I can get 3 solid guys that I can trust, I'm good. And then maybe stream 1 or something if I need an extra one.
Last question here that we have. What about different size leagues? So we tend to focus on 12-team leagues because that's the majority of leagues, but we know not everyone plays in 12-team leagues. So is there a specific strategy if it's a smaller league, like an 8 to 10-team league, or a bigger league where you're talking 16 plus? We know people that play up to 30 teams. Like there's some absolutely insane leagues out there. Or what about a keeper league? Like it's any general talk about any of those leagues, Joe?
All right. So you mentioned keeper leagues. Keeper leagues are completely different depending on the keeper league. So if it's a keeper league where like it's just you keep 3 players and it's the first 3 picks gone, and everybody has to keep 3 picks or keep 3 players. You just keep your best 3 players. I don't care about next year. You just keep your best 3 players. So like everybody wants to go, oh, well, I can keep this guy for another 5 years, but only this guy for another 2 years. Football is too short of a lifespan. I'm not worried about that. Just keep your 3 best players. Now, if there are round values associated with that, that's a different story. come in our members Discord. I guarantee you we will answer all those, dive into those deeply. We have done it multiple times. We're still having a conversation with one guy about his. He keeps going back and forth with it despite all of our answers. But that's the great thing about it. You don't always have to agree with us. It's just we give you what we want. 8 to 10 team leagues. I will say this. There is a little bit. I go back and forth with the like. You can wait on quarterback. You can wait on tight end even more on those leagues. However, Kyle mentioned something earlier this week where somebody was like, "Oh, but it's only an 8-team league. I should probably keep Jaden Daniels." And it's not a keep a league response here, but he said in an 8-team league, having the premier players at those onesie positions, as Corey calls them, I love that. Then that makes a massive difference, and he's right. So I would say in an 8 and a 10-team league, yes, you can wait longer and get a very, very, very good quarterback and tight end. Absolutely. However, if there is even an inkling of value with those top end guys, go get it. Do not hesitate, because they will make a big difference. Because what also happens in 8 to 10 team leagues is there is a lot of value at the running back and receiver position because there's just a ton of them left. So getting the elite guys at the onesie positions at the smaller value, the smaller team leagues makes a huge difference. 16 team leagues, 14 team leagues. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. They are tough, man. It really is. It's just hard. I want to say you've really, especially with the onesie positions, you have to go get somebody early because you do not want to be the one drafting the QB 16 as your QB 1, because when that happens, you're probably likely to get QB 18 or 19 as your QB 1 because somebody's going to take their QB 2 before you take your QB 1. Then you're screwed. It has happened to me. So you've got to put a premium at that position, at those onesie positions. Everything else is just try to draft depth and depth and depth as much as possible. Handcuff is actually important and probably more important in those leagues. But just make sure they're good handcuffs. Like don't just draft a handcuff, just a draft a handcuff. They still need to be good. So draft other people's handcuffs in those leagues too. That's even more fun.
I'm going to answer.
Gotta make sure you got strong handcuffs all times.
That's right.
Always.
You don't want to lose yourself. I'll answer. I just want to.
You want to be able to break out of them. Go ahead.
I just want to answer to the. I couldn't agree with Kyle more. Like in a short league, that's where I want a difference maker at the single position. So even though it seems counterintuitive, because like you're saying, the pool is deeper. You want difference makers at every single position. So those are the leagues where I will be more likely to take a top quarterback or a top tight end in those leagues than in the other leagues, because it's a difference at the position and the depth. Like we think of it as the depth of quarterback is the same, but really it's the running backs and receivers where I feel like you notice them the most. Because I play in one 8-team league every year with some friends of mine, and I will almost always walk away with like one of the top 5 quarterbacks and one of the top 5 tight ends. I want that, and I trust my understanding, whatever, not to like my knowledge of the player pool, of the player pool to help me figure out who the running backs are and the receivers are to help me if I need help at that later, as opposed to I just want to lock in quarterback and tight end.
I agree. Yeah. So the just to let everybody know, like the reason why Kyle said it, we had a guy who he's in an 18 league and he needs 3 keepers. He's got a loaded team. It's like Gibbs, Lamb, basically the 4 people who we've all narrowed it down to are Gibbs, Lamb, Nico Collins, and Jaden Daniels. He needs to keep 3 of those 4. He's got a couple other guys, but we're like, nah, toss all the guys back. And we all said keep all the running backs and receivers, because we're like, you can figure out quarterback later. Then Kyle came in and said that, and I don't know. I'm still of the opinion of like keep those 3, keep Collins, Lamb, and Gibbs, and I think he'll be fine. Those are 3 elite players, right? If it was like Gibbs, Lamb, and like I don't know, Terry McLaurin, take Jaden Daniels in a heartbeat, right? Like Devontae Adams. Jaden Daniels in a heartbeat. Nico Collins is like a borderline first round pick.
Those are all elite first players. Yeah.
So like, I'm still doing it, but like, Kyle's not wrong in what he said. It's just, it doesn't fit the narrative of that discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, I'll just touch on the bigger leagues. So I was in a 32 team league once, and it was IDP and offense. Yeah, it was rough. But the scoring was set so the defensive players were pretty equal to the offensive players, and they need to be in a league like that because otherwise everyone's just going to go for offense still and then just figure out defense later. But something like that, it was a lot of fun because it was different. I don't know if it's something I would do every year and really want to stay in for a long time, because I feel like it could get stale. But for keeper leagues, I threw this on there because my home league is a keeper league, and we do have the round values attached to guys. So you are getting rewarded for, being ahead of the game on, Brock Bowers last year or, Gibbs a couple years ago, some of these guys. But when the draft strategy for that type of a league is your tiers are completely different. You have to look at who's being kept way ahead of the draft. As early as you can, once they're all, accounted for. And then you have to redefine your tiers because you may have 10, 12 of the top running backs all kept by, at least one person in the league. And then, receivers are going. So it's really interesting to see how different players fall and who keeps what. Typically you cannot, the old rule was you could not keep two players of the same position. So you had to keep a receiver and a running back, or a quarterback and a receiver, or whatever. And then you could pay more to get a second player match. Everybody pretty much got to the point where they were paying more. So it's just like, all right, well, we're just going to change it to 3, whatever. So that's the big thing with keeper leagues. If it's something like Joe was saying, where you just keep the first 3 players and they are just on your team, and then you draft through, it's kind of the same deal where you just you already see who's kept, and there's no extra value. It just kind of those people are out of the draft, so you're just still following your tiers without those people in it.
Sounds like a good way to go about it to me. Keeper leagues. I play, just a quick mention of bigger leagues. I play in 3 16-man leagues. That's the biggest I get to. 32 sounds like literal torture to me.
Steve Hungartner plays at a bunch of those, man. The same IDP offense leagues, man.
You go, Steve. You're a great guy, but absolutely not. But
I have
2 of those 16 team leagues. You guys ever played in a guillotine league?
I
have not yet.
I play. Those are 2 of the 3 I play in our guillotine leagues. Fun way to play. If you ever get a chance, someone offers it to you, play it. Play one of those. Those are fun.
Yeah. Until you lose.
Until I lose. I've won that 2 out of the last 3 years. 16 teams, man.
Nice.
That's
nice. That is impressive.
Called to fame. Thank you.
All right. So that's what we got for draft strategies. We're going to be jumping into just the news here, and not just the news. There's lots of news going on here. Just rip through here, and you guys can comment on a couple that are more interesting for you. Isaac Guerrero out a few weeks with a shoulder. Oof, what else is new for a 49ers running back? Just hope it's not CMC soon. James Cook contract dispute getting a little more interesting. Talked about this on the Bills training camp check-in with that guy that came on. Jordan Addison got the 3-game suspension. Mason Taylor high ankle sprain. I'm gonna save this one for last just because it's hilarious in my opinion. Matt Stafford back injury. There was one piece of news where it was like, oh, he's back on the sideline. He's back throwing again. He's on track. And then it was like, oh, but he's dealing with like a ruptured disc. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I've dealt with a ruptured disc. I'm not playing quarterback anytime soon. He's got a few weeks. I'm sure he's got better treatment than I'll ever get. But, yeah, no thanks. Khalil Shakir, high ankle sprain. I want to say Josh Palmer is also injured. And so is it Curtis? I think Curtis Samuel might also be injured. There's another one of the receivers is injured also, man. The whole Bills receiving core is just banged up. Keenan Allen re-signs with the Chargers. Yay. Actually a pretty hefty contract, man. It was like $8.5 million or something crazy like that. I was pretty shocked. I did not think he was going to get even close to that kind of money. Will Howard fractured his hand 3 weeks, and then the one that makes me laugh the most is the Browns signed Tyler Huntley, quarterback. And this is now their 5th quarterback. I do know they're dealing with some injuries, and they are starting Shedeur Sanders tomorrow. They play the Thursday night game, I think.
There's a lot of games
tomorrow. I want to say tomorrow, but I know I'm not going to release this until tomorrow because we are recording.
Yeah,
we go live. But either way, he is starting the first preseason game. So I know that's probably why they signed him, but it's still just hilarious to think that they now have 5 quarterbacks on their roster. It's like he's going to have a job for like a week. But all right. Corey, you've never gone first.
Boy,
what do you want to talk about?
Okay. I'll take the Jordan Addison 3-game suspension first. So we've been waiting to hear this. So it was good to actually get confirmation as to how long it was going to be. I thought 3 was actually higher than I thought it would be. I think it boosts TJ Hawkinson for the first few games of the season. So if you are in on TJ Hawkinson, I think that's good news for him. Justin Jefferson is unaffected. 3 games, you're playing a 13-game regular season of fantasy. So you're talking about you're basically losing him for a quarter of the season. To me, he's draftable in the round 9 range. And someone will probably be more invested in him than I am. So I am unlikely to get much Jordan Addison, I don't think.
I don't even know if we're going to get him around 9. I don't even care. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I think I'll jump in. I'll take this Stafford back injury. Joe, you kind of already touched on with the more serious option or ailment, maybe is a better term. Back injuries in general are very finicky, and that could be something that's going to affect him long term through the season. We already talked about what might happen if if there's an injury to Kyron Williams. Well, then Stafford's just going to throw it even more. Well, if he's dealing with this back injury, maybe not. That would be a very interesting conundrum if you're a Rams fan. But I'm hoping that Stafford can get through this, quick, and that it is more of the lesser side of the injury, just for my own selfish fantasy reasons. Because
what I worry about the most with this is not Stafford missing time. It's we are drafting Puka Nacua. We've dropped Stafford. Like everybody has been like, oh, we out of Stafford. We don't want Stafford. Nobody has dropped Puka Nacua. And in fact, Devontae Adams is still rising up ADP. This doesn't make any sense. So if we're dropping Max Stafford in ADP because we're worried about that, do we really want to trust? Anybody want to say his name? Because Devontae Adams doesn't want to say his name.
Puka Nacua or Nico Collins?
Nico.
I mean, if Stafford's out, I'm taking Nico in a heartbeat.
I'm taking Nico, right? Brian Thomas or Puka Nacua?
Yeah.
I think it's Brian Thomas, right?
Again, yeah. I mean, I don't know where I would put these. I don't know where I would put these guys if Stafford is out.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I tend to agree. I think they're both probably being overvalued. But I like you said, Matt Stafford at this point, I won't touch it. That's no chance on that one.
Yeah, because again, like who are we talking about? We're talking about the name that Devontae Adams doesn't want to say ever again, even though he was boys with him in college. It is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
He wants nothing to do. He hates the dude now because he was terrible with him in Vegas, but he's moved or Oakland, I guess when he was there, but now he like has to play with him again in Los Angeles, and it's like, oh my god, can you imagine Devontae Adams having to catch passes from Jimmy G again? Dude's gonna retire. Week 2, he's like, I'm done.
Can I get traded back to Aaron Rodgers?
See you later, guys. I'm out.
Keep your money. So, good.
Corey, you got another one of these that you want to talk about?
We should talk about the James Cook contract dispute because he's the other high name on this list. So James Cook is at Bills camp. He is doing the hold in, the same thing that Terry McLaurin's doing, where they are there. I think there was at least a report that James Cook was going to practice, but then he did practice. So this is we talked about this. We talked about this on the Bills show, the Bills check-in. He practiced for like 2 days, and it was like, never mind, and stopped. And the GM was like, "Wait, what?" He got confused. He was totally like caught off guard by it. Yeah, it's interesting. You can check out that Bills preview. I keep calling it Bills preview. The Bills training camp check-in to get a little insight there. But yeah, it is definitely very interesting to see how this one played out. Are you dropping James Cook at all in your draft rankings? Like, are you worried about it yet? I was already down on James Cook when we talked bust. He was my bust.
I mean, and so was the guy who so was the guy who came in and talked about that as well. Did you just spray the beer, you doofus?
No, wow. I don't know what happened to this freaking case, but I opened one the other day. I should have remembered. I did not. So yeah, it's all over my desk.
I could hear it. Did you hear that, Joe?
Yeah.
Like spraying.
Well, yeah, I was right under my mic.
Yeah.
And then it's just
so anyway, Nick from the Niagara Gazette was talking about this and the fact that, like, touchdown regression. He's not going to do what he did last year. That was, we've talked about this. Touchdown regression is clearly coming into play here, but he fully expects this to happen. He's going to get signed, kind of like everybody expects McLaurin and even Parsons to get signed at some point. Like, these guys just don't hold out anymore. They lose too much money, and they know they don't have the leverage on that front. We've seen it. Guys tried to do it, and we see how that worked out. Didn't work out at all. Antonio Brown and what was the running back?
Bell.
Who? Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, thank you.
Bell.
Yeah, both of those guys, man. We saw how that worked. So, James Cook, though, man, that's a very interesting one.
Keeping that in line, it's not on our list here, but Micah Parsons is all pissed off and wants to hold out now. Anybody
see my tweet today?
Now's the time for Joe to reference his tweet.
Oh, should I just show it on screen? Let me see if I can find it
as well.
While Joe is looking up the tweet, I think we should talk about Keenan. Can I talk about Keenan Allen for just a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I don't think
cleaning.
Beyond being a big name, I'm not overly interested in Keenan Allen, but I do think any excitement that you had for Trey Harris has to be considerably downplayed now, or the tight ends. I know some people really like Will Dissly in Los Angeles. I think like Keenan Allen is not the same receiver who consistently posted 100 catches in Los Angeles, but he's going to be on the field. Like Joe said, he got a good contract. We know that he's going to be on the field. I don't think it affects Ladd McConkey, but all the other pass catching options, if you were a Will Dissly guy, if you were a Trey Harris guy, it has to absolutely lower them.
Oh yeah. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
I already updated the depth chart and put him second because
that's good about those.
I mean, I think he's obviously played there before. He's got a good rapport with Herbert. So why not? Why wouldn't he be the second receiver? I mean, he could have been or was the first receiver there. And guess what? Mike Williams is back in the fold now too. So, it may not necessarily be the McConkey show. I think it will be, but Johnson.
Anyway, no, Mike Williams retired, man. He's out.
Did he? Oh, that's right. He did.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let me just show you this. There's the little running joke, Corey, over here talking about how Cowboys and Yankees Twitter is just always going nuts. So I was just thinking about this. I don't know what made me think of this today. I mean, you know what? Let's send this out. Commanders give Terry McLaurin. Cowboys give Micah Parsons. Just trades the disgruntled players. Who says no? Cowboys Twitter. Did I do this right? With a little laugh emoji. Nobody responded. I was totally shocked. Nobody responded. I was like, I'm sure I'm going to get ripped for this one. But it's hopefully they all just realized it was a joke. But yeah, it's just kind of a dig at the fact that like Cowboys Twitter will be like, oh, we'll give you, you know.
What was that one I sent to AJ? It was like they send like AJ Brown, Jalen Carter, 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons or something like that.
Absolutely nuts, man. It was like these dudes are all off the wall. And the Yankees fans are like the worst. They're like, oh yeah, you give us your best player, we'll give you these 3 schmucks in return. It's like in our like
they just did, and everybody kept doing it at the trade deadline this year. They're like, oh sure, Yankees, come take all our relievers. We don't care. We don't need anybody. It's that 18-year-old prospect.
Look how that worked out. They all got blown up a few times.
3 innings, 9 earned.
Man. Sorry, that's pretty funny. Yankees all right, I think I'm done. The other news. Like y'all can check it out. Covered some of it in those training camp check-in videos. So check this out. But thank you for tuning in. I know this was a longer one, but draft strategy is a very important thing. I do realize, I think this actually is like one of the most important preseason shows that we do, if not the most important one that we do. You really need to know how to draft and how to prepare to draft. And that's more important than like having a set of rankings and having a set of like a tool. Like it's knowing the right tool. It's knowing when to be able to pivot. It's knowing when to adjust and that kind of stuff. And just understanding how to value players and reading the draft room and things like that. So this one is long for a reason, so hopefully you enjoyed it and you got a lot out of it. And
it leads right into next week, mock draft time.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be here on Wednesday with a raspy voice because I never have a voice after the expo. It'll be awesome. I'm supposed to do five check-in shows on Tuesday. It's going to be phenomenal. Let's do it.
The last thing I have is just to say that I'll be sure to bring my Bane and or Silence of the Lamb mask with me next week, so you cannot tell when I'm about to crack a joke or whatever. You're welcome.
Okay. All right.
I was born in the darkness.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. I can say have a good night. I'm releasing this in the middle of the day. I keep forgetting we're not live. See you next time. Peace.
Bye.